Check test 1, 2. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I hope you've all had a busy couple days. I sure as hell have. Good to see everybody in the chat. As usual, like to hang up for just a few minutes and kind of wait for a few more folks to join in. But we've got, let's see, it looked like Robert Black was in early. He says he'll be back, so okay. Tom Downey's in. Hi, Tom. It's always nice to have you here. Tim Myers, of course, is here from Ohio, and great to see you, Tim. Let's see. Richard Kirby's in. Rick is... I don't know what I was thinking. I was tired, and I meant to have Rick on the live stream tonight, and I completely forgot. So... I actually have a change of schedule, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to every Tuesday, starting next week. There was a class I was going to take. The class got canceled. Anyway, the long short story is I'll be around, and so I'll be joining you every Tuesday night again until I get sick of you or you get sick of me, whichever occurs first. So I invite you to check that out. If Rick is still in town next week, I'll have him over and we will have a live chat together. Rick has been here for, well, I guess a week tonight. He came in last Tuesday. He lived in my driveway for, until Sunday. While we took care of a few things, he's got to spend another day in the driveway while I finish up a couple other things. But I think we've made some good progress. Chris Hauser's in. It sounds like he is in Florida. Chris, I think it's time to get out of North Myrtle Beach and find some cool weather. But he says the Barefoot RV Resort is nice. Campground. Sweet. Let's see. Anybody else slip in here? If you're coming in the chat, be sure and drop a comment out there if you don't mind. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know where you're watching from. And that way we can give you a shout out. We were, of course, chatting about the weather in the pre-stream, and I'll tell you what, we've had 3/4 of an inch of rain this week. Snow flurries a couple mornings. It was snowing a little bit this morning. It's not sticking, of course. But, and rain. It's just been a tough go of it. Tom was saying his tulips are gone. Well, my daffodils are just about finished. But that reminds me, I have a little something here I think I'll share with you. It's a good and a bad thing. The neighbors who had these 60-foot, if they were an inch, blue spruces, there was 2 of them in his backyard, which put out bales and bales of pine cones and even more bales of pine needles. But they all got cut down. So let's slip you over here and let you watch this. So yeah, I was quite worried. As you saw, the truck camper was right there, and they had that little man lift widget that they kind of, well, it wasn't even self-propelled, it was towed, but they wiggled it back in there somehow, and they managed to get that, well, both of those big huge spruce trees down. The good part is no more pine needles, no more pine cones. The bad part is that my house is going to cook, because that is the west side of my house, and of course the sun will arc over that way, and so anyway, it's good and bad. But anyway, I thought you guys might enjoy that tonight. I'm going to go back and scan the chat here. I saw a little bit of a conversation going on. Let's see. Oh, Tim Myers got his hydraulic leak fixed. Excellent. Yeah, those sometimes can be tough to track down. Was it a hose? My guess was a hose. Chris Hauser says he'll be in Elkhart in November, going to Moride to get some independent suspension and disc brakes put on his trailer. Wow, that's pretty cool. More weather chat. Yeah, it's been in the 40s and 50s, low 60s. We had 2 days of decent weather in the last 3 weeks. Let's see here. Rick says he's tired of the snow and cold. Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, Chris lives in Tennessee. That's pretty funny. Ian Fox is in. Hey, Ian, great to see you, man. Chris says, heard Atalink turned roaming on for everyone. Is that true? I don't know. You mean Starlink? Yeah, Starlink. Okay, I see. You have a fat keyboard like I do, and Tom. Well, yes, they have, to a certain extent. It depends on the service. There's all kinds of underlying caveats around that. I'll tell you, if you want good Starlink information, and just in general, and this is unsolicited, go over and check out Chris and Cherie at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. Their business is nomadic internet. And they talk about Starlink, they talk about Wi-Fi's, they talk about cell. It's their business. I can chat up to some of it, at least the stuff that I use. And these guys test it all. So you might want to check them out if you have questions about mobile connectivity. Nomadic connectivity, I guess I should say. I'm a bit tired, but yeah, no. Tom Downey, no, it's not. 2 more months. Robert Black is back in from being away. Hi, Robert. So nice to see you here. 105 in Texas. Well, I would take about 20 of those degrees. You could just send them on north about 900, well, make it 1,100 miles. And I'll take all the heat we can get right now. Oh, Roundtown Scouter's in. Awesome. He says he's back in Columbus without the motorhome. Uh-oh. We're waiting for an air dryer assembly. Yeah. Stuff like that happens. Glad you had your Toad, right? Getting warm in Tucson. Yeah, Ian, I long for Tucson. I really miss Tucson. I really like that town. Here I am. You never know. I might end up back in Tucson. We'll see. Anything's possible. Oh, Tom says he has his tree. Yeah, I get you there. Randy Waller. Hi, Randy. So glad you could make it. Just a reminder for those that are just tuning in, I'm going back to every Tuesday night. The class I was going to take got canceled. Some other things changed around. And so Tuesdays are back and open to me. So we'll be kicking around on Tuesday nights, answering your questions, or just generally chatting. Tim Meyer says he lucked out on his hydraulic leak was the fitting on the sink cylinder side of the large slide retract hose. Oh, yeah, okay, good. So that's better than a hose, actually, because fittings are a lot less expensive. Man, those hoses can get real expensive. Hydraulic hoses can be hella expensive. Robert Black says installed his second AC micro air easy start, reduced the startup by 17 amps. Excellent. I'm pleased with that. I would be too. Was it easy to install, Robert? That's really, they're nice to have, particularly if you're living on 30 amps. Because what'll trip it out, is it's nice to have those for sure. Ian Fox says, Momentum 395 MS arrived at the dealership today. Sorry, I need a drink here. I'm awful dry. Oh, okay, back to Ian. He says his Momentum 395 has arrived at the dealership, getting the finance approved, and then the third-party NRVIA certified inspector checking it out before we drive across the country to pick up. Yeah, that sounds like a really smart way to do it. Ian Fox says, the fiance and I are so excited. Been a couple years in the making. Yeah, that's awesome. Remind me, where are you going to get it? Robert Black, responding to my question about the easy starts on his AC, says it was very easy, great instructions, and install kit. Good to know. Thank you. Okay, so I haven't really had a chance to do much with the truck camper. I've been busy on other stuff, but on Rusty the RV, I've got the bedroom floor replaced, looking really fine. Let's see. I've done all kinds of stuff in that thing. Started working on the outside, had some paint color matching problems. Hope to get the right paint tomorrow and then to try to finish the paint on Thursday. We got Richard's new Jeep Gladiator all set up to tow 4 down. Installed a Blue Ox base plate. Sorry. I was out in the cold all day. We installed the Blue Ox Easy Trail Light kit. That thing was easy, really easy. And then installed the Roadmaster Invisibrake. But I'll tell you what, the thing that probably kicked my ass the hardest was these widgets right here. These body trim bolts, snaps, clips, POS, whatever you want to call them. Once you got the tow bar on, the legs were expanded too much, and I could not get them in. And I cussed and beat and moaned and kicked and screamed and fought him for an hour and a half, and finally asked Rich to go get some new ones. Richard. I better call him Richard because that's what you guys all know him by. And anyway, of course, they didn't have until 5:30 today, and I had other things I had to get taken care of this afternoon, so we'll finish that up. I had 6 of those I couldn't get in. But I think the Blue Ox base plate looked really good. I was really happy with the install. It took quite a bit of fussing with the trimming to get it just right, but once I got the trimming right, you couldn't even see the slits in the plastic. There's this wind and bug deflector that goes underneath the Jeep that keeps the noise down as you're going down the road. Otherwise, it's going to be, you're just going to hear nothing but wind noise. And so you had to cut a couple slits in that. I had to cut a little cutout for the pigtail to the trailer connector. We put in a 7-pin trailer connector because we wanted a charge wire, that kind of stuff, so that the Jeep battery is getting a little charge when he's rolling down the road. It's not a lot, but it's enough to offset having to have the ignition turned on. And it may be in that Jeep. I bet, I don't know how you're going to do that, but I guess there's probably a YouTube video out there on it. I haven't looked because I'm not going to tow it. Let's see. Tom Downey says, my Newmar is all mechanical, no hydraulics, never failed. Yeah, the only hydraulics on the Newmars are the jacks, at least on Tom and mine's era. So I think that's awesome. I agree. I never had any trouble with mine. And by the way, you know, of course, you probably know this, Tom, but you never oil those. You never put anything on those. I put a little silicone spray on the rack and the rail. It's really kind of interesting. They're mechanical, but what it is a round wheel with these big thumb-sized nubs on it, spaced, you know, around the perimeter. And then there's a rail that runs it in and out, at least on the big slides. And then on the bedroom slide, it's all mechanical. You'll get to see some pictures of the bedroom slide when the floor video publishes, which will be here in a couple weeks. I'll have a video on that, a video on the paint and the repair of the body. I've got a video on the base plate install. I've got, oh gosh, I've got hours and hours and hours of video to sort through. And I've got other stuff that I need to be taking care of. I've got a product review coming up and stuff like that. So, anywho, back to the chat here. Agree with you, Tom. I love that. Ian says he's going to Sonny's Camp and Travel, North Carolina. Well, that's a pretty good run from Tucson to North Carolina. But that's cool, man. Congratulations. Josh H. asks, interior floor or subfloor? Both. I did have to replace the subfloor. Correction. I had to put down 3/8 underlayment because and I think I probably don't have a piece of the flooring here. It doesn't look like it, but the flooring was 3/8 too, and so the height worked out great. And then I just took a piece of 1 by 1/8 oak, red oak, and stained it. I have a stain. I have the I think they call them the light oak cabinets. But through years of owning the RV and experimentation, I discovered that there was 2 different colors to use, 2 different types of stain. One was the golden oak, and I put a coat of that down first, let it soak for a minute, wipe it off, and then there was, what's the darker one? Anyway, there's a little bit darker oak stain, and then I would wipe a coat of that on, and then wipe it back off in just, you know, a couple minutes like normal staining, and then hit it with some poly, and it matched. It looks really good with a nice little oak threshold with brass screws holding it down. That'll all be in the video here coming up in a little while. Tom Downey says, big mistake bases. Did I miss something here? Or has Tom been in the bourbon again? Richard Smith, can I say something about delamination on a Prevost coach? Have they solved this expensive fix problem? Well, yes and no. I do know a little bit about this because another viewer of the channel, regular Carl J. He's been viewing the channel for years, but he has a Newmar as well, and he has some doors delaminating in his. And I think what it's been tracked down to is adhesive is failing. And on the newer ones, I know they are getting warranty, and I'm not sure if there was a recall or not. I haven't looked into it. Obviously, I don't have a Prevost, but. So it's been a glue failure, and what it was is that the glue that they used over the substrate, because keep in mind, in the higher end coaches, there's usually some kind of a substrate. Now, like in our luggage doors, it is fiberglass sitting over 1 3/4 inches of styrofoam Uh, and then the inside is vinyl covered fiberglass. It provides some insulation. And the Prevos and the other higher end coaches, a lot of times they'll use the same stuff they use in aircraft. Tom is the aircraft guru. What do they call those walls? Those laminated walls. I think there's a special name for them they have in the aircraft. But anyway, what the deal was is I think the glue was failing. And the only fix is to relaminate. I've seen some guys try to do some injections with some like epoxy. I just don't think that's practical, especially in a $500,000 coach. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong, and I frequently am. Okay, Robert Black says, have you ever heard of adding a thermostat switch to a max air fan to turn it on at a high temperature, say 100 degrees? I think the high-end newer ones have that built in, but mine is 6 years old. You could easily put a thermostat on it, Robert. Um, you could get a normal thermostat. Don't get AC. They'll get a DC thermostat. And yeah, you could easily put that on a thermostat. I just replaced the fan. There's a video on my channel. Just went up a couple weeks ago. I replaced the Fantastic fan. I'm a Fantastic fan guy. I know Max Airs are great as well. But I just replaced the Fantastic fan in Rusty. And it had all of the controls built into it. When the old Fantastic fan, the temperature control was on the wall. But you could easily put a thermostat on that, Robert. That wouldn't be hard at all. Again, just make sure you're not picking up like a thermostat like you would use for AC. A normal, cheap, inexpensive $20 thermostat would work perfect. And then you would make sure that it's rated for what that fan draws. And they're like 3 or 4 amps. They're not a lot. Excuse me. And put it in line with the ground, with the negative. And you would be in Fat City. Yeah, several failures of Blue Ox. Yeah, everybody's going to have failures. It is what it is. I think that I did a really good job. I followed the instructions very carefully. Found a couple YouTube videos that I watched, of course. One of them was, well, they made some major errors. The other one from E-Trailers was pretty good. I think mine will be better, but I'm a little biased. Tom says there's no need to have a key on the Gladiator. Okay, good to know. Ian Fox, South Carolina, but it's just as far. Yeah. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? Josh H. says, I just replaced the subfloor and roller support on my bed slide, 04 Mountain Air. The opposing side slide floor is next. Yeah, the slide floors are I think if I was going to have to pick one to change, I think I would change the subfloor on the slide floor. Say that fast 3 times and not get on you. The slides are so much easier to work on. I mean, if you got to change the subfloor out in the main coach, God help you, boy. Because that subfloor lays underneath the walls. But that's cool, Josh. What did you put back over it after you? What did you put back in? Did you put wood, or did you put carpet back in? Tom Downey, base plates are failing. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Tom. I think a lot of those failures are carbon unit failure. I mean, people don't, they're not set up right. Now, luckily, the general rule of the Blue Ox, and I think this is true of all tow bars, is you don't want more than a 2-inch difference between the height of the center line of the receiver of the RV and the center line of the pins on the tow bar, and we were dead on 16 inches. My Subaru is 16 inches. Excuse me. Hang on a minute here. Like I say, I was out in the wind and the cold, and well, in the cold anyway, all day, and I'm kind of cruddy here. Just a minute. Sorry about that. And I'll get the blue out of my face. There we go. But yeah, it went in well. The only thing that was really a challenge with the tow bar itself was you had to drill 1/2 inch hole. And, I had some good bits, and I used an actual electric drill for the first time in a long time. But I just found that cordless drills, I don't care which one, Makita, it doesn't matter. They just don't have the horsepower a good old DeWalt 3/8 inch drill that uses wall current does. I mean, I cut those holes in seconds, drilled them, I should say. Two Feathers, hi! So nice to have you here. Speaking of color, I love the butterscotch colored wall you have behind you. Oh, thank you. That's my accent wall. Actually, that is an accident wall. All right. I do green screen sometimes. And what the green screen is when you see me with a black background or I'm projecting myself over some other content. I have a green curtain that hangs behind me, but originally I thought I could use that wall as my green screen, and it didn't work out because their facial colors are sort of about the same color as that, and the computer was having a hard time discriminating between the two. But that's my accent wall. 7:30, time for the shameless selfish plug, and that's a reminder to please go over to my website at trbullen.com, poke around. You might find some stuff over there you find interesting, quite a few articles on RVing, RV how-to stuff. Also, I've been and will continue, I've been awful busy the last week and a half, so I haven't had a chance, but I've been posting kind of interesting things that might be of interest to RVers, national park news. Like you need a permit to hike Angel's Landing. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. A lot of places are starting to take credit cards only for their entrance fees, not processing cash anymore. Anyway, so information like that I've been kind of trying to share a little bit. Stuff that I think people might be interested in. So go over and check out my website at trbullen.com. And then, of course, as always, that thumbs up is so important. Lets YouTube know you like the video. Gets them to suggest it to other folks, and hopefully they'll like it and come back next week for the next live stream. And if you're not subscribed, I'd be surprised because I'm pretty sure everybody here is subscribed. But if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Ring the notification bell. That way you'll never miss a video. It's going to be a busy summer of really fun how-to videos and some product reviews. I've got some lighting that's been given to me for a product review. So all of the lighting in the truck camper is going to be brand new LED. I've got a super high-tech whoopie-doopie antenna that I'll be reviewing here in the next month or so too. The antenna I have is pretty much POS, and anyway, it's going away, and I'll hang up this new antenna and I'll do a little review on it. Let's see. Okay, back to this. Two Feathers, okay. Tom Downey, 2009 and later have a problem glue failure. Yep. Randy Waller says, he's out at his acreage tonight. That's awesome. Not a very good signal, buffering badly. He might have to set this one out. Totally get it, Randy. It's so nice to see you, though. And we'll catch you next time you're on a little better signal. Thank you, Tim Myers. Honeycomb. Tom Downey said that we were talking about the walls. Tom says all his are aluminum. Thank you, Robert, for reminding folks to hit that thumbs up. Tom Downey, his Mountain Air has never had any of these problems. Yeah. Is anything that has not repaired in yours? Well, there's lots of stuff. I mean, when I was showing Richard around when he first got there, I think he was really impressed. Mostly because everything, the cabinetry, all the trim, everything is still tight. I mean, they're quality coaches, the older ones. I don't know about the newer ones. I have to speak from my own experience. But you know, everything just works and still looks good. Of course, I've maintained mine quite a bit. And yeah, there's been some stuff you're going to fix, but it's like a house, right? If you own an RV and expect to not fix something on it, you're in the wrong business because they break. I used to say this to my supportees, the people that I used to support, the engineering company I work for. It's a machine and machines break. And by the way, they break at the most inopportune time. So, you're going to break down on I-5 in Los Angeles and have to wait 3 hours for a tow truck. That's the nature of the beast. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Josh H says, under the bed is exposed wood. Okay, yeah, that was what mine was. I haven't decided to finish yet. That will be next winter's project. Totally get you. Yeah, that's mine was exposed wood. Well, actually, there was a little bit of carpet on it. I stripped out all the carpet that I could get out. There's still a few places like, and I know this is kind of specific, and you'll get to see it in the video, but there's this little shelf that goes up and underneath and behind the bed, and it was just impossible to get into, and I really didn't want to have to take the bed out. I had to make a repair to the bed anyway, because apparently sometime in the past, it might have been before I owned it, or I kind of was thinking maybe I figured out what might have happened, but the one corner of the bed frame, the bed base, if you will, was all crushed. It had been patched up with some nails, so I fixed all that. I have OCD in the worst way, and a quality job is a job well done, even if it takes a little longer. And so I went ahead and fabricated a new corner and got it all put in there. So you'll see all that coming up here in the near future. But he says he purchased it late, his Newmar late last year. The exterior caulking had failed some time ago. Chronic leak finally catching up. Yeah. You got to stay on top of it. Before I send Richard down the road, I have a whole case of lap sealant, and I'm going to redo the perimeter seal on the roof. I think it's fine. It was just looking a little tired, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit that here as soon as the weather cooperates. I missed Judy Kimbrough chiming in back there a few minutes ago. Hi, Judy. So nice to see you in. If I miss anybody else, throw a comment out there and wake me up. I need the help tonight. Two Feathers says, Judy Kimbrough, do you have big bugs in Alabama? Keep in mind, Two Feathers is up in Spokane, Washington. We got big snakes, right? She wants to go south, but don't like big bugs. That's pretty funny, Two Feathers. Tom Downey says, I simply replaced the bumper with a good bumper and did use that bumper with no plates. Yeah, you were talking about that 2 or 3 weeks ago, Tom, that you had done something different. Well, maybe it was more than 2 or 3 weeks because we haven't been here for 3 weeks. But I remember you talking about that. I've actually I went out and did a little research on that. It was too late because we already had the base plate sitting here and we were past the return window. But I went out and looked at that. And by the way, I had a Jeep. 58 Willys Jeep station wagon was my very first car. And it had 2 lugs welded on the front, to make a tow bar up with just some standard pins. And anyway, that old Jeep needed a tow bar sometimes. Tim Meyer says, tossing a big bug at 2. For sure, Tim. Dennis Deemers. Hi, Dennis. So nice to see you. He says he has an 88 Beaver trying to hook up my main power plug, and both of the main leads Oh, he says, are both of the main leads supposed to be on the same lug in the breaker box, or one on one side, one on the other? Oh, yeah, you need to use what's called a two-pole breaker. All right? And so what a two-pole breaker is a circuit breaker that spans two slots. So let's say, for example, you're hooking up 30 amp power. It could be 50, it doesn't matter. But you would get a breaker that has two 30 amp breakers with a metal handle between them. So if one side trips, both side trips. That's absolutely a safety requirement. Don't use two individual 30 amp breakers. Don't use two 30 amp breakers with the handles drilled and a hunk of copper wire whacked through them, thinking that's going to pop them when they both need to pop. A 30 amp breaker will probably cost you, well, nowadays, $15. And each hot lead should be on each leg of that breaker. Does that make sense, Dennis? If you have both on the same, that's very bad. Please don't use that, or be very, very careful. You can easily overload that. It will trip out before it causes trouble, but it's just a really bad idea. So please, if you have both wires on one breaker, replace it. Get a two-pole breaker. Oh, thank you, Robert Black, for the super chat. That is so kind of you. Okay. And they should not be split from side to side in the breaker panel. You know how most breaker panels have a set of breakers here and a set of breakers on this side? They should not be split across that. That's why you get the two-pole breaker. And what that will do is automatically put you on two different phases. So it'll put you on the right phases so they won't get doubled up in the breaker panel. But yeah, go get that two-pole breaker. Home Depot, Lowe's, your favorite big box hardware store, Ace, whatever. Yeah, a two-pole breaker. And of course, check make sure you know what kind of breaker box you have. GE, Siemens, Square D. I think GE and Siemens are interchangeable. Don't quote me on that. Just get the same breaker to match the manufacturer of your breaker panel, and you'll be good to go. And of course, it's fairly easy to set them up and to install them. I put in a temporary power drop for Richard while he was here living in my driveway. Okay, two feathers, yikes. We have a little bug phobia. Two Feathers does. Tim Myers is laughing out loud for sure. Judy Kimbrough is answering Two Feathers. She says, we have mosquitoes that can carry you off in the summer. Any other time of the year is good. Oh, Tom Downey says his bumper is the Warner winch bumper with tow hooks that hook to the tow bar. Gotcha. That's a cool bumper. I was looking at another Jeeper online that had that set up. But I didn't realize the tow hooks doubled. What do? You take the hooks off and put the bails on for the tow bar? That's interesting. And how do you get the height right? Do you have a step up receiver? Two Feathers knows about mosquitoes. Yeah, because they have them in Washington, and Alaska's even worse. Yeah, absolutely. I think the Alaska mosquitoes prey on the Alabama mosquitoes. I think they suck blood from them. They're that big. Oh, Tim Myers is chiming in with the Alaska mosquitoes for 3.5 years, and they are merciless. Yeah, they drink DEET like we drink coffee. Oh, Tom, his Jeep said 2019 Wrangler. Gotcha. Roundtown Scouter is answering Dennis also, is this 30 or 50 amp, 110 or 220? It would be 220, basically either way on a 30 amp, with the exception of like For an 88 bounder, that would be a two-phase 30 amp that it would require, I think. But if it was single phase, 88 bounder, I am going to take 1 minute here and just make sure that we didn't give him some bad advice. Okay, it looks to me like it is a 32 pole. Hold on here. It looks to me like it's a 32 pole. I can't tell for sure. I will do some research unless somebody is a little faster on the Google machine to find out whether it's a single 30 or a double 30. And you know how to tell the difference, don't you? The single 30 is the little round plug. Looks more like a, it's, about that big around with one vertical pin and two angular pins. Tim thinks that the 30 is a 30 of 120 only, 3 prongs on the plug, hot, neutral, and ground. That could be true, Tim. I don't want to spend a lot of time over on the Google machine, but if it's a single phase 30, like Tim's talking about, then one breaker is fine. I'm so used to the bigger rigs like, the Newmar, my old rig, Richard's new one, that they're all two-phase, or, they're 220. But it may be 110 on an 88 bounder, unless somebody is, and that's only if that's still factory fresh. It could have been changed. A rig that old, somebody may have done some changing on. So, anyway, hope that helped. Okay, Tom, okay. Roundtown Scouter, okay. Ian Fox, when staying for just one night, can we leave the fifth wheel hooked to the truck for the night and sleep in the RV? Absolutely. Not a problem whatsoever. You're going to want to set your jacks, right? You're going to want to lower your front jacks and your back jacks just enough to stabilize the rig. You don't want the weight and the torque of the fifth wheel rocking and rolling inside the hitch. But just set your jacks, your 4 points, the two front and the two rears. You don't have to lift it up. Just get it, stable. Again, you don't want to put a lot of force on that fifth wheel, but yeah, you don't have to disconnect. You're good to go there. Chris Hauser reminds us that the state bird of Alaska is the mosquito. That's true. I knew that. Got you, Tom. The hooks are built into the bumper. Tim Myers, okay, we were talking about the 30 amp 120, 2 feathers. You guys have it made. You don't have to bare your bum to go pee. I hope not. Yeah, there's nothing worse than a mosquito bite on your bum. Judy Kimbrough. Judy and 2 feathers are ganging up on us guys tonight. You guys are funny. Tom Downey, check my email. Okay, let's see. I'll instantly go to my spam. Did you send it to the TRB? You did. Gotcha. Oh, and he sent a picture. It's some kind of ugly yellow thing. A good thing that Tom's got a good sense of humor, huh? I hope he does. He's been around a while. I've been teasing him quite a bit. So, here we go. Let me see here. Let me get to where I can PIP for you. And let's see. We're going to go over here. So that's Tom's setup. Oh, I see. Yeah, the 2 bales in the front there are very similar to what I had on my old Willys station wagon. And that's pretty cool. Oh, and then the tow hooks are, I guess, next to the hitch or back in here. And that's an aftermarket bumper too, it looks like. So, yeah, that's a cool ride. Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Tom. And now we're getting email. So, apparently, I have not blocked you knowingly on Google, on my Google account. So, anyway, hang on to that one. You're more than welcome to use it. Let's see. Ian Fox says, with auto level system, I'd say I'd have to just lightly lower them all manually. Yeah. Yeah, just take them down to where you feel them contact the ground, and then give it a, just a little bump. Basically, just make sure you're not rocking back and forth like, this way or this way, right? So not back and forth, but this way or this way. Hope that helps. And yeah, you don't have to completely level out or anything like that. Just take the, you don't want to be pulling up on the fifth wheel hitch or rocking back and forth in it. Not that it would hurt it, it's just going to add additional wear that you don't need. You just make it wear out faster. You are welcome, Ian. And Tom Downey says yes. Okay. So we are at 7:49. Any last questions that might come up? Let's take a peek outside. This probably might blow things out. It said it was raining. It is. Looks like it's back to sprinkling. Okay, well, we're supposed to have a decent day tomorrow. Let's hope. Okay, I really don't have a lot else. I guess, let's see. Let me go see. I did have a couple of pretty interesting comments come in the last little while. Let me run over here real quick and see if any of them I think might be fun for the crowd. Quite a few comments coming in on my holding tank maintenance video. Easily stop holding tank smells in your RV. I get the same general comments, but I get ones like this every once in a while that kind of make me laugh. From Just Rocking It. Wow, thank you so much. A divorce has brought me to downsizing after 12 years in a 4-bedroom house to a 27-foot majestic RV. So it's all brand new to me, and I appreciate any great info you want to put out there. And that's why I do these live streams, so guys and gals like you can come over and ask any questions you might have, and so I can help you out. But she goes on to say, and I'm assuming it's a she, the face looks like a female eye. This whole poo thing is pretty nasty, but I'm putting my big girl panties on, I guess she is a girl, and going for it. And my answer has always been this. It's the same thing I get when people yell at me for not using gloves when I was dumping my holding tanks. Did you put on a pair of gloves every time you had to change a nappy diaper? And I kind of doubt it. But I bet you went and washed your hands when you were done. And so as long as you're not touching your mouth or rubbing your eyes, while you're dumping your tanks, you immediately go wash your hands with some soap and water, you're good. And I also mentioned to her that if, she's treating her tank properly with the borax and Dawn or the borax and orange cleaner, depending upon which tank, there should be little to no smell. I mean, it's poo, and people have a poo phobia. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I kind of get a chuckle out of that. Met another person out here, sort of, in YouTube land, in the intra world, in the intranets of the world, whatever they call that nowadays, who's got a 1991 S&S truck camper that they're rebuilding. And it's really hard to find information on these campers. Yeah, it sure is. I have accumulated a pretty good stash here, though. I've got an owner's manual. I've got all kinds of stuff. Hey, Just Rockin', it's in there. Awesome to see you tonight. You've been lurking out there. I called you out of the shadows to come and say hi. So great to have you here, Just Rocking It. Feel free to ask any question. There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers provided by yours truly. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. I didn't mean to tease you. I hope you took that in the nature it was meant, because it was a great comment. And I get it. I get it kind of frequently. The poo phobia is there. A lot of people have it. Okay, let's see. Where am I at? Okay, you're welcome me in. Yes, Tom. Tom says, okay. Robert Black. So, with not needing to level if hooked up to the truck overnight, is that bad for the slides if it's not fully level? I don't believe so. Each manufacturer is different. I know on the new Mars, and this is the oldest, well, this is one of the oldest arguments in the book. It goes back as far as gas versus diesel. And that is the order of operations when you're putting your slides out. Every RV rig is different, okay? Some say put the jacks down, then put the slides out. Some say put the slides out, then put the jacks down. It has been my experience with my RV that either way you do it, whenever you're done with both, then double check your level, just make sure things haven't shifted. But I have had my slide, I've done it both ways. There have been times that I've had to level before I could get the slides out, mostly because I was on such a weird slope. And then a lot of times if you're in a flat campground, I think it's 6s, but you need to check with your manufacturer. Check your manufacturer's owner's manual. They should make recommendations. For example, Richard bought a new couch for Rusty, the RV. And while he was here in the driveway, I had the chance to get a friend of mine to come over and help get the couch in the rig. And I rolled it back in the driveway with the slides out. It's perfectly fine. I moved 20 feet. It's not rocking. It's not moving. You know, it's perfectly fine. I've never had a bit of trouble with the slides in mine, other than I've got one slide roller that's a little squeaky. And like all stuff nowadays, it's back ordered. You can't hardly get stuff. It's just so frustrating. Just Rockin' It says you. Oh wait. Okay. Thanks, Robert. Got your. Just Rockin' It says you helped me so much. Thank you. You're welcome. And yeah, if you have other questions, don't hesitate to, throw a comment on the video or just come to one of the live streams. Again, I'll be doing these every Tuesday night now till you're tired of me or I'm tired of you. So. Looking forward to having you here. If you can make it back, that would be great. If you have questions, feel free. If I don't know the answer, some of these other old gray-haired folks in the chat, like Tim Myers and Tom Downey and Robert Black and a lot of those guys, will probably get you the right answer if I can't. Roundtown Scatter asks, how close to level is an ammonia refrigerator need to be? Tim Meyer says 2 to 3 degrees, approximately correct. I read a great article on ammonia refrigerators and leveling them and the whole issue with that. And the thought comes up, and let's just chat through this a little bit because I think I remember most of this article. When you're rolling down the road, you're going to be more than 2 to 3 degrees out of level. I mean, think about how rock and rolly a road is. What the problem is if you're not level, there's a thing in the ammonia fridge called the boiler. And essentially what it does is when the ammonia evaporates, it goes up to the top of the back of the fridge, and it starts to condense, and it condenses, it sucks the heat out of the fridge, and as it tumbles down this cooling coils and stuff, it condenses back into a liquid. And it's not just ammonia, there's hydrogen in there, there's a little bit of water, there's another chemical in there, which reminds me of some news that I'll share in just a minute. Don't let me forget. But the key to that is don't let the boiler boil dry. So you got to stay fairly close, front to back level. Side to side, you have a little bit more leeway, okay? But the front to back is the one that's going to get you. And yeah, 2 to 3 degrees is pretty good. For a short amount of time, like an overnight, you would be fine with probably 4 to 5. But yeah, that's a lot out of level when you're thinking about 30, 40 feet. So 2 to 3 degrees is a good rule of thumb. And if you can't get level, we're talking about fifth wheels mostly, and if you have a fifth wheel trailer, if you can't get level, to where it feels level, right? It might be a little back and forth, but it should feel level. And you'll know when you walk inside. You should be able to feel if it's level. If it feels level, you're probably close enough for a one night. If you can't get that feeling, then yeah, I would disconnect from the hitch and do a full auto level. It only takes a couple minutes. I mean, just pull forward enough to get the pin off the hitch and go for it. But yeah, if you're just doing a quick overnight, stopping at a harvest host or even in a rest area, set the jacks just enough to keep the rig from rocking back and forth, and you'll be fine for the night. G. Davis says he just purchased a tankless water heater. Noticed a while back a white and black wire for power. Am I correct? The white is the hot wire. I would have assumed it would have been red. No. In the RVs, generally hot is black and white is ground. Okay? That is not universal for all RVs, but in general, in RVs, the white is your ground always, and the black is the hot. So now there could be a few exceptions to that, but no, it's black, hot, white, ground. Hope that helps. G. Two feathers. Do they make a gasket silicone for the lights on the outside, or do I have to find a gasket for each? Brake lights, running lights, etc. Well, if you use a regular gasket, that will be fine, if you can find it. And then get you a tube of Sikaflex silicone. Now keep in mind, you can use silicone on the flat surface of your RV. Okay? So let's say, like on your taillights, you can silicone those just fine. Where you don't want to use silicone is in an area that flexes. All right? So like a corner where it might flex, okay? Or on the roof where there's a lot of flex. You don't want to depend on silicone. But very frequently, like my body lines, the body lines on my on the Newmars and around the windows, okay, all have silicone. Keep in mind though, the windows have little weep holes at the bottom. So there'll be a little tiny pinhole, or you may not see the pinhole in the face, but there may be a little hole in the underside. Don't silicone those over, okay? That is to allow moisture and water to drain out of the frame of the window. And I'll tell you right now, when I took the windows out of the truck camper, the bottoms had been siliconed, and it was just lucky. I mean, the windows were filled with dirt. I pressure washed most of the dirt out of the frames. But yeah, Sikaflex silicone. It's a marine silicone. It's more expensive. It might be $9, $10, $11 for a tube. But one tube will do pretty much all your light penetrations on the outside, no problem. And that's what I recommend. A very fine bead. And keep in mind with silicone, you don't use a wet finger, you use a little bit of mineral spirits. And that will help you smooth it out. Tim Myers, I resemble that remark. Yeah, I hear you there, Tim. Just rocking it. Maybe a silly question, but I was wondering about insulting this majestic. I think you probably meant, this is voice recognition at its best. I love this. Insulating this majestic. I have stuffed the pink insulation into the storage, but is there a better way? Well, just rocking it. A 27-foot Majestic. I'll need to go do a little research on that. I'm not familiar with how they're built, and so to make recommendations. Now, I can tell you just as a rule of thumb, get yourself some... Oh, come on, guys, help me out. The Mylar coated bubble wrap Reflectix. Pick it up from my Amazon store. There's a link to my Amazon store in the description below, and as an Amazon affiliate, I get a small commission. You pay the same price, but you'll help out the channel, and I appreciate that. But get some Reflectix and cut that out to the shape of your windows, okay? That will do wonders to help keep heat out. And just do it, you don't have to do all the windows. You just do the sunny side of the coach windows, or do the windows that you don't use a lot. That's a good way to start. As far as insulating the basement and stuff like that, or the underside, there's a couple things you could do there. I'm going to do some research. And if you will join us next week, if you can't be here live, just check the live stream replay. That'll be available immediately after this live. I will research that, and I will make give you an informed answer. Unless any of the other folks out there have first-hand experience. It's not a silly question. I think it's a great question. Thanks, Robert Black. It is great to have you here. Tim Meyer says, when rolling down the road, the ammonia doesn't lock up like it can out of level, but stable, if that makes sense. Yeah, totally get it. The other thing, too, is that if it's out of level, the ammonia has to build up to a very high amount to make it over the level to get back into the boiler. And that can cause the boiler to go dry. And when you boil the boiler dry, you got trouble. Which reminds me, I was doing a little more maintenance. This has been just after the end of the live stream last month. And then I took the time off. But it looks like I found some telltale yellow residue in the drip cup of my truck camper. Now the fridge works. I have not plugged it back in again since I tested it last fall. But that's a sure sign you have a leak. And I'm totally anticipating having to replace the fridge. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I've looked at the 12 volts, specifically the one Randy got. It's slightly too big for the hole that I have. But I did find one that was sort of close to the right size. I'd have to reframe the hole a little bit, which is no big deal. I had to do that for when I put the residential fridge in my Newmar. So anyway, I'll be doing a little research on that. I'm going to get things wrapped up here pretty quick. But Two Feathers, thank you so much. I can't express how much I appreciate the live chats and the super chats. The donations are so nice, and they'll all go to parts for the truck camper. Tom Downey says he's been camping since 1964. Tents, 4 truck camps, trailers, 3 of them, and now a coach. Some campers twist and then have problems. That's for sure. I have, been camping with my parents my whole life, and I started camping on my own. Well, in my 58 Willys Jeep station wagon, the first thing I did with it was turn it into a bivouac vehicle. Threw my old white gas Coleman stove in there, a sleeping bag, an old Coleman metal cooler with the twisty handle latch like you have on a window, and went out and was camping in that, and I've car camped. Basically, I've been camping out of a vehicle my whole life, and yeah, some of them rock and roll, some of them twist and turn. Which is amazing when you look at the quality, and we're going to brag about our Newmars again for just a minute. The quality of the construction of those rigs, in that all the wall seams, everything, all the joinery, the doors, everything are still in great condition. Now, there are 2 doors that have a split in the panel, and the floating panel, and the raised panel is really what they are. But that's to be expected after 18 years of changing humidity and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, they're great quality. I'm sorry to see it go, but I'm happy to see it going to somebody that's going to use it. G. Davis is so glad he asked. Thank you so much. You're welcome, G. Yeah, about the wiring. Yeah, okay. Robert Black, do I have that silicone sealer on my Amazon affiliate store? Oh, gosh, I think I've got so many now because I've been doing them sort of by project. Let me just jump over there real quick to shop. Amazon.com/shop. My new keyboard sucks. And I think if I have it, it's probably going to be just a moment, and I'll throw it out there for you. I would think it would be on this one. Give me just a second. Okay. I stand correction. I'm sorry. There are two Sikaflexes. There's the silicone and the polyurethane. Both are extremely good. Chris, didn't you use Sikaflex on some of the stuff on your bus? Let's see here. Oh, okay. I don't have it on my page. I will get it on there as right after the live stream. It will be on this page, but give me 10 minutes to go get the stuff and put it up there, but it will be on my list, handy items for RV owners. I've got all kinds of really handy things on there if you're an RV owner. Parts and pieces. Oh, wow, man. This is... I looked away too long. We've got G. Davis throwing a super chat at me. Thank you so much. And just rocking it. Thank you so much. Wow. I greatly appreciate the super chats tonight, folks. I just can't say thanks enough. I really do appreciate your support and being here and listening to me ramble sometimes. Okay, let's see here. Let me catch up on the comments. Okay, just rocking. It says, awesome, thank you. I'm in Washington. It's cold. I could feel the breeze on my legs here most of the time. Yeah, I get it. I'm in Idaho, and it's been chilly here too, for sure. It seems like spring is late, but I don't know. I mean, you guys in Washington are lucky. You know, you get pretty good rains unless you're in eastern Washington. And we are in such a drought scare right now that we're taking every bit of moisture we can get. We had a third of an inch last night. Ed Weimer says, the front of my camper is pulling loose. Yes, that can be a problem. It can be difficult to fix too, Ed. When you say the front and camper, is a trailer, a travel trailer, fifth wheel, or another type of towable? There are ways to fix that. Oftentimes, what works the best is there's a trim strip around the edge of that with a vinyl fill strip in it. You need to pull that vinyl fill strip out. If you're careful, oftentimes you can reuse it. And pull those trim bars off, and then flip them in for end. Because what we're doing is we're moving the screw locations. We want to get into some fresh wood. So if you flip that trim strip in for end, and the screws are in the same location, then I'd recommend go buy a couple new pieces of trim strip. That's the corner trim that holds the corner together. That's the most common uh, place for those things to pull out. And so, and it's just the wood gets fatigued. You might also find out you have some water damage up there and the wood may be rotting. If the wood is rotting, that's a bit of a tougher deal. Um, but yeah, you're going to have to do a little investigation. Find out if you got water rot. If it's not water rot, see if you can flip the trim strip end for end, move the holes around, re-screw it back in. Uh, uh, Make sure you get butyl tape to put underneath the trim strips. Absolutely critical that you get butyl tape under those. It will keep them from leaking in the future. So yeah, but that's a tough fix if it's rotten. You know, if the wood's rotten, you have to take the skin off. Hopefully it's not laminated fiberglass or something like that, and replace the wood. There's really no way that I know of, unless any of the other old guys out here that have been around a while, to epoxy it or glue it back together or any of that. If it's got rot, it's a problem. Sorry about that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Tim Myers bragging again about how he doesn't worry about ammonia any longer because he has 12-volt DC compressors. Rub it in, Tim. I may be getting it. You know, I might look at doing one of those. Keeping that, I've looked and they're there. They're available. They're hella expensive, but anyway. Tom shouting out to Just Rocking It that he's over in Oak Harbor. Kevin Coop. Hi, Kevin. He says, when I do the geo method for tanks, you use borax. Do you leave it in or empty before you use the tanks? Leave it in. And in fact, Kevin, if you leave the borax in the tank, you actually put the borax in the tank at the start, okay, after you put a couple gallons of water in there, you're seeding that tank with oxygen. And that's what helps keep the smell down. So you can absolutely leave it in there. It's not going to harm anything. And in fact, if you're 2 or 3 days into a camp trip and say the temperatures are warm, and keep in mind with holding tanks, when it's warm, everything happens faster. They go stinky faster. I'm not going to drill into it too much. Take and add another 1/4 cup of borax to the holding tank, and you'll be, the smell will go away in 10 minutes. It's amazing how it works. And borax for a 1/4 cup costs you about less than a quarter. The last time I looked at it, I actually bought a box at surprise, surprise, Home Depot was cheaper than Walmart, and it was $4.98 for a 65-ounce box. And a 65-ounce box would last me, oh gosh, probably 3 or 4 months when I was living in my rig full time. If you're just camping it in the weekends, you should get by on a whole season on one box. Thank you, Robert. Okay, yeah, I'll have it on right after the chat. Wow, it's 8:17. I was going to wrap things up. Okay, we'll go one last round. Any other questions that might be coming in? If you're just late to the game, I'll be back to doing every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Ask any RV related question. Happy to try to help you. And if I can't, like for Just Rocking It, I'm going to look into that 27 Majestic so I can make some recommendations on how to get it a little bit warmer for you so you're not freezing out there in Washington. Ed Weimer says, yes, it's a tag-along. Okay, yeah, I would try that, Ed. Carefully take one corner apart if it's got the metal trim strips on it and look for rot. And again, try to flip it over. Sometimes that'll move the screw holes around enough that you can get into fresh wood. Screw it back in. Don't forget the butyl tape underneath. Must have the butyl tape. It's $9 for a big old roll of it. But you got to put that butyl tape under there. That'll keep it dry. And you should be able to get it back together. And again, if you're real careful when you take the vinyl trim strip out that's covering the screws, you can reuse it, but it's not expensive either. I bet you anything that I have both of those items in one of my Amazon stores, probably the truck camper rehab. I do. I also have butyl tape in there. The Dicor butyl tape and the vinyl insert. I have black stuck up here because I'm going to use black for as an accent color on the truck camper when I get it back together. But I'll throw that link out there for you so you can go out and check that out. It's about, well, it's towards the bottom, and it's Dicor 30-foot butyl seal tape. It's a must-have. It's $12, less than $12 for a roll, and it could save you thousands. Kevin Coop says he saw a video the other day, and he was using Borax Dawn and Happy Camper and found out that his tank was 14 gallons shy of capacity. Flushed it out and got out the pyramid, leaving in. Yeah, the Happy Camper, it works. I've found you don't need it. Borax and Dawn, that's all you need. Happy Camper's expensive. And I'm frugal. Some might say cheap, but I'm frugal. And I don't know why I would spend money on, the Happy Camper for, gosh, the last time I looked, and with inflation the way it is, whoa, wow. For 18 treatments of Happy Camper, that's $27.45. That's on Amazon. So what's that? $1.40. It's about $1.40 a tank for the Happy Camper. Now, don't get me wrong. Happy Camper flat out works, but you don't need to use Borax, Dawn, and Happy Camper. You can use Borax and Dawn or Happy Camper, but you don't need to use all three. The Happy Camper works good. Anyway. So Kevin, I hope that helped. But yeah, the poo pyramid can suck up a lot of capacity. And if you go over and check out my video, you'll see all about the poo pyramid. Okay, let's see here. Tom and Tim are looking like they're going to connect out in Washington in October. That's great. You're welcome, Kevin, for the response. Tom Downey, he's in the phone book. Be certain to stop by, and that's good. Good night, Robert Black. It's so nice to have you here. And I'm going to call her good, too, unless there's any other great questions that come in. I don't know what I'm doing on here. Laughing out loud. Tom Downey thinks I'm in Longview. Hope this is the way to answer you. Yeah, that's fine. Just be careful just rocking it about sharing any really personally identifiable information. But yeah, I know where Longview is. We had an office there. We did a lot of work for the big Weyerhaeuser paper mill up there. I'm sure you know where that's at if you're in Longview. Just Rockin' It says she appreciates the borax tip so much. I emptied today and the smell was way improved already. Keep at her. You'll do fine. Like I say, if you're treating it right, there's very little to no smell. Tom Downey says we have used any chemicals. I think he voice recognition that one. He probably meant to say he hasn't used any chemicals in the toilet. As I say in the video, I can't overemphasize this. The flush is everything, right? How you flush that tank, not toilet flush, but how you flush that tank. And my favorite saying is, use plenty of water when you can. Use water wisely when you can. If you're sitting in the RV park, use plenty of water. That water is great. Water dilutes. The solution to pollution is dilution. I remember that from way back when. But yeah, dilute that down, and that helps a lot. But yeah, with those two simple things, you'll be just fine. That's a good point, Round Town Scouter. I've had that come up a couple times, and actually, it is my intention to make that video because I want to do an update because it was kind of specific to borax, and there's other borax products, and of course I kept calling it Boraxo. We all know the story behind that, but I want to make sure to mention that yeah, it's a good idea to dissolve it. What I used to do was I would put a gallon or a gallon and a half of water in my toilet bowl, sprinkle it in, swirl it around with my toilet brush, kind of scrub the toilet out, then drop it in the tank. And I didn't have any trouble. But yeah, it'll clump up. If you just dump it in the toilet and then shoot some water on it, yeah, it'll clump up. It drops in. Eventually it does dissolve, but it's better if you mix it up in the bowl like I recommend. Yeah, Tom says never. I understand. Okay, good night, Tim. Thank you for being here. Just rocking it. Poo Pyramid made me laugh so hard. Great info. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real pile of poo. Yeah, poured it in the toilet and it'll swirl and wouldn't flush. Yeah, you got to put some water in there and swirl it around. Or, you know, somebody suggested, and I thought this wasn't a bad idea. They took a half-gallon milk jug, and they would just put some water in that, pour the borax in it, put it in there, shake it up until it dissolved, and then put it in their tanks. But yeah, it's all good. Yeah, Tom, you're right. Be certain to remove the box. Okay. Wow. 8:25. Well, I guess I haven't been on here for a month. There was lots to catch up on, and it was sure nice having everybody on the live stream tonight. Don't forget to run over to my website, trbolin.com, poke around, read an article or two. You might find some interesting information over there. Thumbs up for the video. Always appreciate that. Appreciate the super chats. Robert Black and Two Feathers and G Davis and Just Rocking It. You guys, make this worthwhile. And other than that, I think we're going to call her an evening. And we'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And bring your questions along. Join us next week, Just Rocking It, and I'll have some good suggestions on how to get that 27-foot Majestic sealed up. Until then, take care. We'll see you. Peace.